Hello and welcome back to Deserted Island Dice. This time on the island, we're joined by Bill Simoni, co-founder of the Historical Board Game Awards. Of course, we talk about war games, but as you'll quickly learn, Bill has a diverse interest in all types of tabletop gaming. We talk Pathfinder, war games, train games, you name it. It's a good one. Hope you enjoy it. Okay, everyone, welcome back to our lovely little island. We're collecting quite the little board game collection that has washed ashore with our lovely guests. And tonight we have a new guest, of course. Lucky for us, maybe unfortunate for them, that they are washing ashore here on Deserted Island Dice. And I only learned this recently, but it appears to me that they are floating ashore on a paper mache boat made out of Pathfinder First Edition books.
That I could very well be floating in on those. That's absolutely true.
If there's one thing I know about you, Bill, and welcome to the island, Bill, it's that it could probably be a few different things that you're watching ashore on.
All right. Besides the Pathfinder, what do you? What else?
Well, I have a prediction that you have quite the war game collection, and I believe there's some other RPGs in your collection as well. And I'm gonna guess that there's some non-war game board games in that house. Again.
Oh yeah, just a few. They were gathering space in my house way before the war games did.
Yeah.
And the RPGs, I don't know what. I'm trying to remember the picture I sent you, but I first started getting into Dungeons and Dragons when I was about 8 or 9, 10 years old with the original red box, and which was a hard sell to my mother because she was in the hobby store with me, and it was right next on the shelf to the Eldritch Wizardry supplement. Are you familiar with the cover of that?
I'm imagining that probably has some kind of Eldritch symbol, meaning probably a little closer related to
she wouldn't have known that from one way or the other. It's a naked lady on an altar.
Oh, okay. Well, that would be my second guess, and that worked out. Well, very good. We have very similar interests, Bill. And for folks who don't know, welcome to the island, Bill Simoni, co-founder of the Historical Board Games Award with myself, and also three-time, with a caveat that this year's Last Man Standing Award was shared. Last Man Standing at Historic Fest. I'd say award recipient, but you just get recognition.
Yeah. Hey, it's a bonus for me because I drive in and I'm 11, 12 hours away. I just stay till the next morning. So by definition, I'm pretty much going to be the last guy there.
Well, there you go. Well, Bill, I'm happy to have this conversation with you. I'm looking forward to what we're going to talk about. You know how this works, but just so any new listeners may not know, I gave Bill 6 categories to pick one game in, and he can stretch those categories as much as he can, and he gets to wash ashore on our lovely little deserted island with that game. And then we'll do our hot seat, which is just rapid fire questions. Any questions, Bill?
No, sir.
All right, well, let's get a category out of the way before and in between all these games, we're gonna talk about the things we love, which is board games and all their different variations, and war games and Euro games and train games and whatever. But let's go ahead and cross one off, and I want to start with the big one first because there's just things I want to ask you about. Let's start with Deserted Island War Game. What is your pick?
Man, it's got to be. And depending on the day, I'm going to tell you something different. But here I am floating in. I have to make a choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be the guy that brings in Commands and Colors Ancients.
Wow.
I know. I knew I'd have you there, right? You figured it was either going to be U.S. Civil War or Combat Commander, right?
Exactly. I thought for sure it was going to be Combat Commander.
Yeah. So I've been playing Commands and Colors now, Ancients, for the past year and a half or so, every Sunday morning with the gentleman from California. So we get on to Vassal, and we get to play, and we worked through. I don't know. We're in the middle of the second expansion right now, so just a great way to just spend a couple hours and not have to think too hard, and
sure.
Roll some dice and trash talk a little bit and enjoy the day.
Yeah, Commands and Colors, and for those who don't know, that's the same series as Memoir 44 and stuff, is the epitome to me of beer and pretzels. And I think some of those games punch pretty well considering their weight. Like they can punch above their weight a good amount. It's not, they're not the meatiest games, but boy can they be a lot of fun. And when you throw elephants into the mix, Commands and Colors Ancients can be a lot of fun. I like Ancients. It's a surprising pick, but I respect and applaud the pick.
Well, I figured U.S. Civil War is already on the island, so
Of
I'm
course,
glad I didn't float in with it.
of course. So, well, I kind of thought some questions beforehand, but it was prefaced on the fact that I was guessing. So last year in the historical board game draft, actually, it turned into a whole board game draft. Wasn't limited to war games. Bill surprised everyone with the first pick overall, picking Combat Commander Europe.
Well, yeah, that's because I tried trading down. So I pretended I was going to pick U.S. Civil War to try to get a favorable trade from you, but you held fast and strong, and hey, I had to go with CNC or Combat Commander Europe. Yep.
So what gives the edge in the, because it's not a two different question, right? Like one question is you wash ashore on a deserted island. The other is you can only have the games that you select in the draft in your collection. What gives the edge this fall as opposed to last spring where Combat Commander won out? What gives Commands and Colors the nod?
It really goes back to the fact I'm playing pretty much every week, and
Okay.
and so it's just become a part of the week I'm really looking forward to. The fella I play with, he's a great partner to play with, and so it just brings up those memories and the happy feelings, right? So,
Yeah, I
like I
like
said,
that.
tomorrow I might tell you it's Combat Commander. The day after, I might tell you it's U.S. Civil War. Um, and then I'm sure we'll get to the other games in other genres that are near the top of my list later. But uh, those are probably the couple of games that I think of, or I get, or my old mainstays now. As much as I love the U.S. Civil War, it's not a game that casually comes out. And the other two, Combat Commander and Commands and Colors, are.
Very good. I my my favorite game is well known, and it sounds like maybe one of those three are your favorite game, and that's not particularly the question. I heard this or read somewhere. Someone posed the question, and that's, do you think that you've played the best game you've ever played? And I'll narrow that down. Do you think you've already played the best war game that Bill Simoni will ever play? It's so subjective, and I chewed on it with the U.S. Civil War. Is that forever the best game I've ever played? But and obviously this is just dumped on you now, and it's so hard to imagine what the future will hold and what kinds of new game innovation will come about. But do you think Bill Simoni has played the best war game that Bill Simoni will ever play?
Oh, wow. I'm going to say no to that.
Okay.
Simply because there are way more games that I haven't played than I have. And in just a few short years, I'm going to be hitting that retirement age.
Mm-hmm.
And much to my wife's chagrin, she already knows that it's going to be uh, a war game retirement.
Well, I like it, and what I really like, and if you go back and listen to when we started this series, a lot of, and what Rich and I talk about is a lot of the things that drive my feelings and passion about games is the experiences. And so I really like that you chose Commands and Colors Ancients because one, it's a ton of fun game, but of recent experiences, because it sounds to me that you're enjoying the pants off of, playing it in a weekly game of Commands and Colors. And that's awesome. And that's one of the reasons why I like US Civil War so much, is every experience I get out of it is phenomenal. But
Yeah, and that's an important part of it. I think back, I remember more the experience of playing the games sometimes than I do the games themselves.
of course.
Uh, and I find myself getting interested in historical topics. Why in the world do I care about the Franco-Prussian War and in the Battle of Mars-la-Tour, right? Other than I played at any cost Metz 1870 with somebody, and we had a hoot doing it.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
and then we go get books. Both he and I separately have gone and gotten books and read up on the battle and more. And it's just like that gateway into just so much going on there, right? To learning and to enjoying history. Um,
We could have a whole conversation, and maybe we will, about like what makes a war game fun, and maybe we'll pencil that and come back to it later in the episode. But the experiences matter so much. I've always said that my hang up with Combat Commander is my play experiences with it. Fortunately, Mitch Land recently came to the rescue, and we're calendaring my return to Combat Commander. But my play experiences have been so bad, and I know that's not a fair like that's not dealing a fair hand to Combat Commander. I know I'm
What
going to like it. It's just the experience hasn't been good. So experience matters so much in our hobby.
it does, but the thing about Combat Commander is it's a very polarizing game. It is very luck driven. Now, the skilled players will find a way to mitigate that luck,
Of course.
but until you are many, many games in, and I'm talking several dozen, you might have no clue what the heck you could do even to mitigate that luck. And
Mm-hmm.
so it becomes if someone doesn't like that apparent randomness and that apparent luck of the draw to it, it's going to put a sour taste in your mouth. And so I understand the folks that don't like it. I've been lucky enough. I get a monthly game of it now, thanks to the Combat Commander ladder that's out there. Patrick Pence runs that from Patrick's Tactics and Tutorials, and so he's organized it. There's over 100 people that play every month in a ladder tournament, ongoing ladder tournament. So getting those repetitions in and people who take the game seriously but don't take it so seriously that winning is the only thing. It's been great. So coming back to the experiences, I'd say of the 30 some games I've played on the ladder, I think there might have been one person that I'd like. I'm not sure if I want to play with this person again. And that's a
Mm-hmm.
pretty good batting average.
Absolutely. Yeah. I have follow-up questions, but we do have to keep the topics moving, and we'll come right back to this. Let's get one out of the way that maybe we won't spend a lot of time on, and that's what card game are you washing ashore with?
Okay, it is called Hands and Feet. It is a
Wow.
canasta variant, which canasta in and of itself is a variant on Rummy 500.
Yep.
So it is a. I just need to make sure I've got plenty of decks of cards, plain old decks of cards with me. You need one more deck than you have players, and so as long as you got that, you can go. And so it's very Rummy like, and you can spend hours whiling away. Again, beer and pretzels and trash talk.
Okay. Is this a particular thing that just holds a lot of nostalgia? Like I have a lot of nostalgia playing Rummy, and then even with the like massive explosion and popularity of trick taking games, which just over the last 2 years have so many trick takers are coming out. They're like the new roll and write, in my opinion. Um, I play a lot of spades, and spades may be my card choice if I ever washed ashore, like with a pick. I guess I'm already on the island. I don't know if spades is it or not, but spades just holds a lot of nostalgia because I played that almost pre-kids. I played it every weekend with our in-laws. So is hand and foot a nostalgia thing? And do you still play it a good amount?
It's something that I play with my mother and my wife and my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a game that didn't come into my life till I was already an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, we played Rummy, and on the porch on summer nights turn the lights on, put the ball game on the radio. Back in the day when you couldn't watch baseball anytime you wanted on the TV,
Mm-hmm.
listen to it on the radio every night. We'd sit until the light went away, play cards. And for one reason or the other, too long of a story to go into, my mother learned this game and introduced it, and it was familiar enough that we'd give it a try, and different enough that it rarely replaced any other card game we played.
I love it. I love it. And I got to tell you, I still listen to Royals game on the radio because I think MLB, and this is not an MLB podcast, but I think MLB's biggest problem is watchability. Of I can watch every single NHL game on ESPN Plus except for the Blues, without paying hundreds of dollars over the summer. But so I still do the radio, and Denny Matthews, voice of the Royals, does less and less games, but it holds this charm to it. So you say before you could watch every MLB game you want on demand, which is right. You can do that. But to me, for baseball especially, it's all about turning on the radio. I even have this old style radio I have this old junker I keep in my office, and then I've got this old one, like old style, that is particularly nostalgic for me, that I put in the family room and listen to the Royals on. So I'm right there with you. I enjoy a ball game on the radio still.
Yeah, it's the best way. Absolutely the best
I
way.
agreed 100%. All right, I want to ask you this like big overarching question that we'll never come up with an answer to. I've asked past participants why we play war games and historical interests and escape and all that stuff. There's great answers. And I alluded to this that this would be a topic, but what makes, in your opinion, a not necessarily a good war game, but a fun war game? What makes Combat Commander fun? What makes Command and Colored Ancients fun? Versus something that's not fun?
Oh wow.
Yeah, I know. It's this big, we're not going to have an answer.
No.
And
So, I think Combat Commander scratches the same itches like a Memoir 44, right? That part of the brain that was ingrained upon kids of my age about World War II and how
mm,
heroic it was and the stories that come out.
yep,
And so those kinds of games scratch that itch, right?
right.
And I think when you find that those games like that appeal to you, you start thinking about what else is out there and what else can immerse you in what's going on the table.
Hmm.
Um, it could be simple games like mostly what we've been talking about. It could be more complex games like any of the OCS titles there that I'm hey, I was lucky enough. I had Ardwolf teach me how to play OCS and give me some pointers there. I don't have a regular gaming partner that would care to dive into that locally. So that's one of my retirement things to scratch that itch of exploration, and whether it is the historical topic itself or the desire to uh, you know dig into tactical and strategic opportunities and to see you're pitting yourself sometimes against the opponent, you're pitting yourself against the situation the designer is putting in front of you. That intellectual stimulation and the competition, the healthy competition that can instill, that's what I really like about it, like about wargaming.
I think that's incredibly well said and accurate. I share a lot of the same feelings. You hit on a lot of like buzzwords and keywords that I would pull out. One like very maybe not tangential, but just one more zoomed in reason why that I've been thinking about this is what makes the U.S. Civil War so fun to me. What makes GCCW or Pacific War or any of these games that sit near the top of every war game ever list. And I think for me, it's a an illusion or actual option to explore the actual game. So I agree 100%. Exploring the historical topic that is fun for me. I enjoy that, but also exploring different ways to solve the solution that's in front of you, whether that's tackling a scenario in Commands and Colors Ancients. You're not going to tackle the same scenario twice in most of them. Maybe there's some that are clear cut and this is what you do. And in Combat Commander, the tactical scenarios are going to be different in how you tackle those. And then the U.S. Civil War is always, are you going to try this game? Are you going to focus here or there or whatever? And that's one of the most things about war games for me. And I like all kinds of games, and it just translates so well to the things that are my favorite. Always have this option of different ways to tackle the game, and that's why I think I don't like other games when they don't have the options. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, it absolutely makes sense. I mean, if you're going to spend a couple hours doing something, do you really want it to have very few meaningful decisions,
Right.
or if that were the case, Monopoly and Candyland would still be popular as you get older, right?
Right.
And into the games, and that's just not the case, right? I want there to be some tension to it. I want to burn my brain playing games. Now, I don't know very many people that are like that. The folks, the people I'm mostly surrounded with, when they get together for a game, they want to shut the brain off and enjoy the company, and really the game being the secondary activity, right? So I understand I'm not wired the same as everybody else.
But I think that's a whole other interesting topic of where's the fine line between complexity and I won't even say fun, but just complexity and uh,
Engagement, or yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
because there's simple games that still give me the option to not play in a similar way every time. Gosh, even spades, right? Like you can be super aggressive in spades or not. It's an interesting line. It's a careful line to walk with engagement and complexity. And complexity for me doesn't always equate to fun, that's for sure. So it's not complexity isn't part of the fun equation for me. It's more my point being is you can have the option of the illusion of choices without being complex.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
let's do your non-war game board game.
Oh man, we got to we almost have to segment that down into smaller categories. And I'll tell you, and I'll name a couple games here really quickly. If you're going to say, I'm an 18xx player, you and I play a game once a year face to face, 18xx.
Right?
And if I needed to pick one that is
Whoa,
going to be
whoa,
the only one
hold
I
on
have to
now.
play.
Let me interrupt real quick.
Yeah.
You have train games coming up.
Okay. So I'll save that.
Did I forget to save? You know what? I think the list maybe I sent you didn't include train games.
That's fine.
I'm looking at a list where I added them because it was Patrick. Save train games. I'm going to give you a bonus topic.
Okay, I'll skip the train game then. So here I'm going to go the exact opposite. We'll start. I'll talk about a very casual game then.
Sure.
I think the Castles of Burgundy is one
Yes.
of the more interesting, easy, light games that are out there. Right? You
Yep.
can play quickly, get a game in an hour. It's a great school night or work night game, and there's enough variance to it that it makes things interesting. And if you're playing with variable boards to start, you have a different puzzle to solve every time, and there's a little bit of competition with the other people, not a ton, but there's just that little bit of interaction with other players that really makes it fun. And it's a great game for online play too. I think I've
Mhm.
played nearly 300 games of it, and the vast majority of those have been online.
Holy smokes! I just recently started playing like a resurgence of it on VGA. I need to pull it out with my wife and I. It's a great 2-player game. I mean, it's
Oh,
just a good.
yeah, it's excellent for that, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, that's up there. Brass. Have you ever played Brass?
I've not. I've always wanted to.
I think you'd probably like it. It's an economic game, but also has some of the. It scratches the same itch. It's not the least bit like an 18xx game, but it scratches the same itch for some people, where you have to be figuring out. I'm probably explaining this. I'm not explaining it well at all, but it just is an excellent game, and so I highly recommend it. Should get pulled out at some point.
So which do you wash ashore with?
Oh gosh, uh, I've got enough light games coming with me. I'll bring brass.
Okay, good. You can teach me.
Yep, there we go. That'll
So
work.
this seems as good a point as any because you mentioned that games like Castles of Burgundy populated your shelves before war games. It sounds like, or maybe RPGs did. But let's go ahead and I didn't give you a chance to give your origin story, to give your background. Tell everyone a little bit about Bill and your gaming history.
Yeah, I first became acquainted with Avalon Hill games thanks to the older kid across the street from me. We lived on a dead end street and not many kids his age around, and so he slummed it with me. I'm 6, 7 years younger than him, and he would say, "Hey, you want to learn this game of it's called War at Sea or Midway or Gladiator." Uh,
Oh,
so he would teach me these Avalon Hill games, and we'd play them all summer long or whatever out in his front porch, and that was my introduction to war games. And then for years and years, I really didn't do much. I mean, he grew up, went to college, so there was the person I was playing with gone. I went to college, all gone. It wasn't until I had my son and he was turning, I don't know, 4 or 5, and I'm like, okay, we need better games for him to play. He's a smart kid. Everybody thinks their kid's the smartest, right? But
mm-hmm.
I'm right. Uh, and we needed something more engaging for him to play to use his brain. And so, at 4 years old or so, I said, what games are out there now? I have no idea. And so, did a little bit of research and ran across Days of Wonder, the company.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Ooh, there's this Memoir 44 thing. What little kid
Oh,
doesn't like playing with army men, right?" transferring my own, thing from being a kid to him, right? And then secondly, they had Ticket to Ride. And I'm like, well, is this looking online? He's 4. Can he handle this? I said, heck with it. We're going to buy him. We're going to play. And so that was the crack in the door that got me back into gaming. Where it was that, and it didn't take long after that to say, you know what, I really enjoyed those war games. Do they still make those things?
Mm.
Memoir 44 being one example, but I remember, the games with chits and maps and all that, and see what was still out there. And I said, oh, they're not just out there; they're still a thriving game scene here. And so that's when I dipped my toe back in, and yeah, now I've got, I think, 10 Kallaxes full of games. Whoops.
Oh, wow. Wow. Now, if I was honest with myself, I'd probably be close to that. But like, I have this rule where everything's got to fit. So everything fits up here. But don't ask me about our sub basement and what's all down there.
Uh,
So what's the
well,
blend? What's the blend on your Kallaxes? If you were just to guess, like 20% RPGs, 40 war, 40 non-war. Like,
no,
what are
you
we
you
talking?
nailed it. I'd say it's 20, 40, 40.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. I was collecting the the Pathfinder stuff even when I wasn't playing a game because I found I liked the lore to it, and so I'm like, okay, I'm going to get this stuff, and I enjoyed
Yes.
reading it and whatnot. And then I did start up a game, playing a couple times a month with some folks, casually. No long term campaigns, just doing some one offs and whatnot. But did all
Yep.
that. I already mentioned I started on the old school AD&D stuff, or D&D, Redbox and AD&D. So, just I've been lucky enough to have to live in places large enough that I haven't had to worry about space,
Mm-hmm.
which helps. But I'm at that point now where I do have to start thinking about space. The last time I ran out of space, I said, "Well, I've got room for one more bookshelf," and and that was the last time I'm able to do that. So now it's almost a one in, one out sort of situation.
Mm-hmm. I'm almost on the verge. I'm very tempted to do it. I think I will do this. Is pulling everything off the shelf and bringing everything up, and then just saying everything's got to fit for real this time. And that forces some tough choices as well because well, I'm looking forward to when you retire, Bill, and then you can tell me how green the grass is on the other side. Like how much of these are you actually punching off your list? Because there's a lot of retirement games on my shelf.
Oh yeah. Well, let me tell you, the grass is greener on the other side there because you just freed up 40 plus hours a week that you didn't have to go into to work.
Yeah, but then
Uh,
it'll probably be like, oh well, I have more time, so let me just get more games.
it might be, and maybe I'm kidding myself as to how much time I'll really spend doing it, but I think I will. It's what I want to do. It's what I'm interested in. I want to dig into series and really get some of those played that I've got on my shelf. Of course, I'm not going to wait till I'm retired. That's too far in the future.
Yeah.
So starting here in October, I'm going to be working through the Battles of the American Revolution series of games. So played those a couple times, including I played the newest game, White Plains. No, I didn't play that at Historic Fest. I played Guilford Courthouse at Historic Fest. I really enjoyed it.
Yes.
I played White Plains at Buckeye Game Fest earlier in the year. Loved it. So
Were those
uh,
your first two experiences with that series?
I'd played one other before that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's a great series. I always say I
It
need to go
is.
back to it. It's a
It
lot of
is.
fun.
So, I now have, I'm waiting on the second tri pack, and then I'll have the whole series. But I'm going to start now working through them.
Very good. Well, we've mentioned a couple times some RPGs, so let's go ahead and cross this one off the list. What RPG are you washing ashore with?
Well, I got to bring the Pathfinder stuff,
Okay.
right? It pains me to not be saying my original, my AD&D stuff, but just the sheer volume of the Pathfinder means we've got years and years of play in front of us.
Let me ask you this. So you're obviously most of your collection, from what I could tell, was Pathfinder First Edition. If you washed ashore with the same amount of stuff, because there's tons of second edition stuff, and converting from first edition to second edition is easy, and because I've gone full board into second edition, is if you had like a clean opportunity to be like your collection will be replaced with second edition if you chose to wash ashore with second edition,
No, no,
would
wouldn't
you
do
make
it.
the switch? Okay,
Nope,
okay,
nope, wouldn't do it. I actually, my experience with Pathfinder Second Edition is a Menace Under Atari, which is what you're playing on the Black Lodge Trivia Night show,
yes.
right?
Thank you for the plug. Yes.
Yep, yep. You'd hand me the $20 later, uh, but that's my experience with it, and I get what it's trying to do, and it's perfectly fine. I'll sit down and play anytime anybody wants to play that. But there's something about the first edition just clicks with me, and it's probably familiarity, right?
Sure.
It's a D20 system, pretty much pretty much straight up, off the rack. Not a whole lot of things changed from the original D20 if you really are being honest about it, and it's just easy to go. Plus, well, you said, hey, magically converted to second, so I guess that wouldn't be the excuse, but I'm fine with first as it was.
Okay. Okay. I really, since we're on the Pathfinder topic and it's not an RPG podcast, but I've been playing a ton of it lately. Just Paizo's writing since the second edition stuff came out is I think the best in the business. Has it always been that good? For the most part. I mean, obviously, like there's some stuff that's not good that they've put out that I've read up on, like when I'm like, oh, should I get this adventure path or anything like that? But even
Oh,
just
sure. There's always turkeys in with the gold, right? I mean, that's
absolutely.
the case everywhere. I'll be honest with you. I haven't really done much other than Paizo since I started in with that, several
Okay.
years ago.
Yeah.
So comparing to what's out there right now, uh, what I'm seeing coming out of Wizards isn't exactly
Mm-hmm.
earth shattering,
Mm-hmm.
but the bigger you are, the less chances you take, the less the more you have to conform to what people expect of you. So it really should be a surprise to anybody that Wizards is not on the bleeding edge anymore. I'd still go with if you really want experience on something interesting, probably find something that started off as indie and maybe has gotten hot, or maybe rules light. I mean, if you look out there, there are a ton of systems available to you, and
Mm-hmm.
the indie scene in RPGs is just probably a golden age right now.
Oh yeah, agree 1000%. And as much as I would love to stump for Pathfinder Second Edition, I'm loving it. I love reading everything about it. There's two adventure paths that I look forward to running after some point after Menace Under Otari. But the deal with Pathfinder is D&D is not a rules light system, right? It is not actually that easy. It is once you're familiar with it. But Paizo or Pathfinder, excuse me, is and I assume first edition is somewhat the same level. Pathfinder second edition is several levels above fifth edition. It is one of the crunchiest systems I've experienced completely. And
Yeah.
again,
Yep.
what I'll just say, and then I want to hear your thoughts. It's got the same thing of why I said war games are fun. With Pathfinder second edition, I don't know about first edition, you have a million choices when you go into combat with just different basic actions you can do. Maybe the right action is to hit him with your sword. But just knowing that there's 30 things you could be doing instead of just hitting them with your sword is what really excites me about Pathfinder. Plus all the other stuff. Great adventure paths, great writing. I love the lore, that type of thing. And so it's a great system, but it's also not like Minnesota Atari is really well written. It helps you learn the system. It's a very crunchy, meaty RPG. It's a heavy RPG. It really is.
Yeah, and that was actually one of the reasons why I was hesitating actually picking that over, say, AD&D.
Mm-hmm.
D&D first edition, or AD&D, same thing, had plenty of options, but at the end of the day, it was a pretty fixed and closed system for a lot
Right.
of years. Fewer options. To be honest with you, the thing I like least about, whether it's fifth edition D&D or Pathfinder, either edition, is purely the amount of character optimization, and you're choosing from hundreds of options as you're creating a character, and you add it together with the race or background of the character, whatever they're calling it now, and it's just more than I want. That's not what I want to get into to RPGs for. I want the sword and sorcery. I want to be immersed in a story of our own making at the table, not a railroad or anything like that. But I want to be in those tales and books that we grew up with or the movies we grew up with, but we're making our own at the table.
Yes.
And I don't need books and books and books of choices or character optimizations to get that.
I respect that. I like having those options on my character, but
Oh yeah,
also
yeah.
I want the same thing you do. I think I want both things. I want tons of choices, and not because I want it from an optimization. I don't want to play like the strongest character, or whatever. I just want the ability to pick this and then blend it with that, and then jam some of this in there, whatever those components are. One of my favorite things is in depth character creation, and Pathfinder has that in spades.
Oh,
Well, I'd
absolutely.
say you watch ashore with first edition. I'll watch ashore with second edition, and we will do some serious exploration of Galarian.
There we go. There we go.
I don't mean to put you on a spot, but do you have like a favorite, like just little aspect of Pathfinder lore that you've read up on or anything like that? Because I have one that always comes to mind, just like since I've been diving in, which is about one of the gods.
Oh gosh. Well, picking one is going to be really hard because at one point I was, I guess I'm still am technically, but I'm been inactive for several years as an administrator on the Pathfinder Wiki, which is all
Oh
about the
wow,
lore.
that's
The
awesome.
lore was a part that I really, really love. I really get a kick out of how they were able to take real world cultures and
Hmm.
situations and through various times of actual, actual in quotes, Earth history and plop it into a setting that makes sense. I mean, it is hilarious that you have an entire country that is basically the French Revolution, right? Golf. I get a hoot out of that every time I think about it. You have a country that is basically every Victorian horror tale,
Yep.
brought to life with
Hmm.
the dark. Everything's dark and yeah, I'm not going to explain it. I'm losing the words, but it just brings these different um, themes and genres and settings, and is able to put them in a coherent way. So I'd say that, and having the central mystery of the that'll never be solved and never published, which is, hey, why is the world the way it is, and why the death of the god Aridin, and uh, why is it seems to underlie so much, and I love that they're never going to answer that question.
Right. Yeah. So the pantheon, you mentioned Eridan, and just the pantheon is one tiny aspect of Pathfinder that I love. And then if you carve that even down, and I'm sure you know this story, and that's Caden Kalian, which
Oh
is
yeah.
one of the gods, and he his symbol is a stein, a tankard, and Caden Kalian was a human who got so drunk that he doesn't remember completing and passing tests of the Starstone, which is how one ascends into God, becoming a god in Pathfinder. And so he got so drunk, and that he became one of like three mortals who passed the test and become a god.
Now
And
Razmir has something to say about that. He says it was four.
four, okay, who's
No, no.
I don't
See, I
get
don't
it.
want to spoil Razmir for you then.
Okay, okay, I need
Razmir
to look into.
says he's a god.
Oh, nice. Okay, I need to look into that. That's awesome. See, I mean, it's just it's a very immersive world, and it seems to be really well written. And yeah. Anyways, apparently we need to talk some more Pathfinder, Bill. I love it. Okay, let's get another one out of the way. Since I know you have one waiting in the wings, what train game are you watching ashore with?
Yeah. So you and I are probably on different spectrums of what we really like in a train game. And the reason I say that is that if I had to come with just one, and I do, right? Because there was only so many things I could save as I went overboard. It's going to be what I'm going to call the granddaddy of them all, and that's 1830.
I love it. I respect that. I think that's a great choice.
You know, it is infinitely replayable, I believe, but it still is that it's that distilled down basics of what the system brings. Now, are there better games? There probably are. I'd have to admit there probably are better games than just that. But to me, it's the one that no frills. I think it's probably one of the easiest to get people into. It's explainable. You play it a couple times and you're like, okay, I've got this, and you can be competitive at it, and you can bring the knives out.
Yeah, I think that's you can bring the knives out, and you can bring the knives out in stock shenanigans, and then you can also run good companies, right? I mean, it's I like 1846 a lot, but it's very much about you make your company and you run a good company, you get lots of cash, and it doesn't have a lot of stock shenanigans. But 1830 can have that in spades,
That's right. That's right. 1846, you can do some mean track placements,
right?
but eventually those will get out unwound.
Of course,
Uh, but I can't get my head around some of these games with the mergers. That I don't necessarily understand how to optimize planning for those and whatnot, and that's fine. I still enjoy playing them, but that base 1830 system is, I think, the one. I know it's not the first. I know 1829 was first, but I think 1830 is the better of the two.
I like it. I like and not even a gimmick, like a bonus feature, like in 32 where you have the merging into a system, or 41 where you have companies buying other companies and doing mergers and stuff. Like I like that. But then I'm wondering, like on an island, 30 is probably the safer pick, because what if you get tired of your gimmick? And maybe if you want like a lot of gimmicks and a lot of shenanigans and a lot of levers to pull, maybe the right answer is 1817.
See, I love me some 1817 too. So,
Yeah.
I'd be happy playing 1817 as well.
You just need the problem with 1817 is you need on the island you need 5 people who understand 1817. That's going to be the tricky part. But I guess you're on an island, and
We're
that's
getting
fun.
there. It's adding up pretty fast.
Yeah. Well, you can be the one to teach Scarlett Johansson 1817, because
If I
as
have to, I will bear that cross.
thank you for falling on that sword, Bill. We appreciate that. Okay, Bill, last topic, which if I will assume maybe that this is your least played topic, and so feel free to stretch the definition of miniature game. But what miniature game are you washing the shore with?
Yeah, I don't play miniatures games, right?
That's what I thought.
So when I moved to Ohio a few years ago, the guy I'm glad I changed my board game geek location or whatever, because he just happened to be searching and he looked at my collection and said, "Hey, here's a guy who likes the games I do," and he invited me over, and we still play now. In fact, I'm going to play Eclipse Second Dawn with him tomorrow and a couple
Oh,
other
nice.
guys. Looking forward to that. I'm not really a big Ameritrash guy, and never played Twilight Imperium, so Eclipse will be a great opportunity to get into that genre. But he also loves to play mini games, and hey, I told him I'll play anything once, right? And if I like it, oh, great. If I don't, fine. And I've played a few different systems with him. I couldn't even name them. They didn't make that much of a didn't resonate with me. But if he pulled one out next week, I'd be fine. Let's play. But so I can't really say miniature games are my thing. I mean, technically, then I guess I'd have to say Memoir 44.
No, okay, I was what? Yeah, nice.
Shoot, I'm sure there'd be something else in there, but I haven't come up with one off the top of my head that has them. I don't play any of those Star Trek or Star Wars games that are with the minis on the
Mhm.
table. Don't play any of those. Don't play Warhammer. None of that stuff. I think that stuff's fun to look at on the table, especially the folks that have all the terrain and the Napoleonic battles and whatnot. I think it looks awesome. I love to gawk at it, but I can pass on playing it.
Very good. Well, I was wondering where you're going to take it. I'm not surprised by your choice after hearing your first choice, but I was thinking, I was like, what Euro comes with like a miniature that like marks first player or something like that?
Oh well.
Right?
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, fine. If we'll stretch into Euros, I don't know. I mean, there's a game called Tapestry that has some of the most beautiful
Oh
minis.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
I just
uh,
started playing that. I don't know if I like it or not. I think I do, but it's pretty good.
I played it a couple times. Played it with my son. He's I talked about him when he was 4 years old. He's out of college and gainfully employed, living off on his own, and we still get together. But I have one chance to win a game with him. So if I don't win the first game we play of a new
Oh,
game, I'm done.
Yeah.
Uh,
Nice.
Never in the future. So we played Tapestry 3 times. Came within 1 point of him the first time, and then the others have been dozens of points.
Nice. Ticket to Ride has miniatures. You could really upset some gamers by using Ticket to Ride as your mini game choice.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, Memoir pushes it for sure, but I love it. That's yeah. Everyone is free to stretch those games in any way they can.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through my collection right now, and I'm like, yeah, I don't have a whole lot here that has much in the way of minis. Certainly not on the when we were really talking about the war game side, right?
Right,
Uh,
right.
oh, hey, there's Side that has those mech minis.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, we'll take it. We take those.
Uh,
All right, Bill. It's time. It's time for the hot seat. Are you ready?
sure, hit it.
The only thing I'll just say for sake of brevity is if I say war game, that includes like all historical games and all that stuff. It's just
You don't
not
want to
trying.
go on a 3 hour digression on what is a war game?
I sure don't. You can find if you want to go on that journey, you can find sources out there and partake. But I've never
No,
been a
thanks. I
fan
find
of it.
that one of the more tedious conversations that continually come up.
Absolutely. So I'll say war games, but just so everyone's clear. All right. Are you ready, sir?
Absolutely.
Okay. Favorite military topic to play a war game on? Now, what do you mean by war game?
Yeah, no, I'm going to go with the inner 14-year-old in me, and I'm going to say it's the Civil War.
Nice. Favorite scary movie?
I don't do scary movies.
Okay. That'll cross out some questions that we have coming up, but fine. Best gaming experience? And I don't mean like broad, like do you have a specific memory where it's like, whoa, that was one of the best times I've had playing games?
uh, you know, I'm gonna cheat here, and I'm gonna tell you it's the mid-sized cons that I go to, whether it's the Buckeye Game Fest War Room, Historic Fest, are the two main ones. I do go to Combat Commander Con every year. All 2 years it's existed. I've been, so like I said, grand history there. But I've been three Historic Fest, two Combat Commander Cons, 3 or 4 Buckeye Game Fests. Those are the ones, right? Because I see the same people year after year,
Mm-hmm.
and you catch up like you hadn't missed them at all in the past 52 weeks or whatever it is. I might see a couple of them other times during the year, but I might not. And it's a great opportunity to be face to face, even if they're people that I keep up with online throughout the year and whatnot. So it's those mid-sized cons and what that really does for the camaraderie of the hobby.
Now, normally I don't provide commentary after questions on the hot seat, but one, I agree 100%. Two, I did not put that question in there to fish for a historic fest response, so I appreciate that. And I agree that that is one of the highlights for me. I was looking for like, well, this one time I played Memoir 44 with my buddy Tommy Wells, but I'll also accept
Yeah. Well,
mid-sized
look,
topic.
the first thing I almost said, and I didn't want to go into that much detail because it's a more than 30-second story. But heck, you opened the door for me, I'll do it. This past year at Historic Fest, not sorry, Buckeye Game Fest. Too many fests out there. At Buckeye Game Fest, I think it was Saturday night, and 6 of us were playing the Thing. There's so many different Thing games, but Outpost, whatever the number was.
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay, playing with the Players Aid guys and 3 other guys that I've gotten to know over the years. I'm human. I'm not the Thing. I'm human. And we go and we have a tough challenge in front of us. And I'm like, guys, we got this. I was pretty sure that we were all human there. No one was going to sabotage the mission. No one was trying to have us fail. We passed it, but then one of the consequences was we had to do a follow up challenge immediately. Okay, great. Well, I didn't bother pulling up my cards. I knew what order my cards were in, and I'm like, guys, I got this for mine, no problem for me. And I just took the top card on my deck and slid it. Well, it was only the top card of my deck when I was looking at it. It was the bottom card of my deck when it was face down. And I slid in a sabotage card. And here I am, completely human. Everybody knows it's me who put it in because they figured it out in about 5 seconds. And I tried lying that no, it wasn't me because I realized right away my mistake. for the next 15 minutes, I'm trying to tell people, no, it wasn't me. I'm human. Blah, 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 blah. And to win the game, you kind of have to have everybody who's human got off the base and on the chopper and not take any of the things with you. And finally, at the end of the day, I just had to fess up and tell them what happened and say, please believe me. But it was a hoot. We talked about that for a day and a half afterwards.
That's awesome and amazing, and reminds me of your ending to Founding Fathers when you
Oh, you
tanked
sure?
the country intentionally and you just like miscalculated how many like victory points Keith was holding back over there or whatever.
Now, I will say, in my defense, I wasn't. I didn't know that I was going. I didn't think for sure was going to win. I was pretty sure I would. At best, it was 50-50. It was, of course, it wasn't that close, right?
No,
It was a blowout, but I knew I had zero chance to win if the game continued.
fair.
So even if my deluded sense was it was 50-50 if I ended the game, yeah. Anyhow.
Okay, I love it. I love both stories. All right, what's a game you've always wanted to play but haven't?
Oh wow, World in Flames.
Nice.
I will never play it, more than likely, but it's one of those ones that just seems to me is a classic for a lot of folks that uh, uh, like I said, I'll never have anybody to play with. I don't have the space. They did a Kickstarter 5 or 6 years ago, and their main selling point was the square meters that the board took up or the maps took up. I mean, when that's the kind of game you're advertising, holy cow!
Yeah, yeah, no joke. What's your favorite Halloween candy?
Payday,
Favorite comic book character?
Spider-Man.
Favorite war game series?
I got to go with Combat Commander,
Favorite football player of all time?
Jack Lambert.
What war game series has missed for you?
Oh wow, that I was doing so good on rapid fire. What has missed? MBT,
Nice. Finland or Russia?
Finland,
Best city to get barbecue in?
Midland, Texas. I know, I
Well,
know,
folks,
I
that's
know.
going to do it for us tonight.
Yeah.
Uh, favorite war game scale?
Oh, I missed that.
Favorite war game scale?
Operational.
Favorite soccer team?
Columbus Crew.
Pathfinder or D&D?
Pathfinder.
Game on your table right now?
Captain's Sea.
Oh,
That's the
nice.
one-on-one naval battles
Yeah,
from Mike Nagel, same guy that did Flying Colors in that
that's
series.
that's an awesome one.
I'm
Favorite next war
playing that a
title?
week from Saturday, so I got
Okay,
it out learning it.
great. Favorite next war title?
I'm going to say India, Pakistan because
Yes.
it's the one I've played the most of. So there's that. Just finished a game of that, playing with Dawn. Dawn, and we've
Mm-hmm.
played for pretty much 11, 12 months on a bunch of Sundays. And we finally wrapped that one up. And last week we started Vietnam. So maybe Vietnam will get there. Playing Poland online. Mitch is running an online tournament
Mm-hmm.
with a tournament scenario that someone helped develop. I think there's 16 people that are playing in that, so that's a pretty nice size for a game like that.
Awesome. Favorite sports simulation game?
So, oh man, you're killing me. I'm gonna go with History Maker Golf.
Nice.
I
Dusty
can't
Rhodes
believe I
or
didn't say Stratomatic baseball, but I'll go with History Maker
I
Golf.
like the unique pick. Dusty Rhodes or Ric Flair?
Oh, Ric Flair.
Oh,
I can't believe as much as I hated him in the '80s, that's how good he was to make you hate him, right?
of course, of course. Smoky Jazz Bar or Tiki Bar?
Smoky Jazz Bar.
Fiction
Sorry,
or
man.
not? No, that's all right. Fiction or nonfiction?
Fiction. Oh gosh, yes. The answer is yes.
uh, last great book you read?
Oh, now you are really kidding. Great book.
Yeah,
Um,
not just good. It's got to
I
be great.
know. Great book. Oh, and I'm a big reader
You
too.
are.
So,
Bill is. I can confirm that based off your Goodreads. You read a ton.
oh, is there something that's been great? Um, Oh man, I am gonna go with darn it, the name is escaping. Great book, and the name's escaping me right now. With the Old Breed. So there it is, with the Old Breed.
Great choice. McClellan or MacArthur? It's lose lose.
I was gonna say, am I right? Who's the biggest blankety blank or the?
The
I'll go.
question's
I'll go
open.
with MacArthur because McClelland was probably more evil.
Yeah, yeah. The questions are open to interpretation. So, but yeah, that's the right answer. What's your favorite book?
Man, see, I don't do favorites very well. Heck of a show for me to come on and to do that. I will go with the original Foundation trilogy.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's great. I read that about 10 years ago for the first time. It's fantastic. Best Penguins player of all time.
Well, it's Mario.
Okay. Yeah, I mean there's choices, right? Like it's you yeah, I think it's Mario Lemieux, but like there's choices. There's
Oh,
contenders.
sure. I mean, you could pick Yager.
Yep,
You're
that's
wrong,
yep.
but you could pick Yager. You could
Crosby.
go with Sidney Crosby,
Yep.
but Mario,
Yeah.
not only was he arguably, well, he's one of the best five players of all time. All right.
Yeah.
But then he saved the team, kept him in Pittsburgh, and was a good owner.
There you go. You heard it from Bill. Mario Lemieux,
Yeah.
best Penguin of all time. Who wins the 2024 Stanley Cup?
I don't know. The season doesn't start until April, so I have plenty of time to figure it out.
It is a long season. Pacific or Band of Brothers?
Band of Brothers.
Alien or Aliens?
See, we're right back to the topic. I have never seen either one, but the answer is Aliens.
Okay. What game have we gotten dead wrong on the Every War Game Ever list?
Zeppelin Raider. No, I have. No, it's not Zeppelin Raider. Gosh, I'm gonna have to think of. Um, I don't have the list in front of me, so that's tough.
That's okay. We can move
Uh,
on, or you can.
give me like 2 seconds, right? What would it be? What do I like that you guys didn't? Could be the other way around, but generally it's pretty good. Um, I don't have it at the tip of my tongue.
That's okay. Scotch or bourbon?
Bourbon.
Nimitz or MacArthur?
Nimitz.
If you could wash ashore with one movie, which movie?
Oh, gosh, this is embarrassing. I have a favorite trashy movie,
Yeah. Yes. Love it.
and it's the one that I'm gonna bring. And hey, you know what? Judge me all you want. Roadhouse.
Awesome. Okay. Okay.
That is a movie that if there was a time where it was always on TBS or even I haven't had HBO in years, but I know it used to be on HBO all the time. And if I saw it was on the channel guide, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put it on, even if I'm doing something else in the house. It's going to just be on.
Nice. What's the next new to you game you want to play in 2023?
Well, kind of cheating since I already told you it's on my table. It's
Oh,
Captain
fair.
C. Although
Fair.
Eclipse, there's Eclipse tomorrow, Captain C next week. That's the next two that I know are in front of me. But since one I didn't name yet, I'll go with Saratoga from the Battles of the American Revolution series.
Cool. Favorite RPG class to play?
Fighter.
Best sports movie ever made?
Man, there's too many to pick from. I'm going to go, you know what? The heck with it. I just was seeing something about it the other day. Major League.
Okay. Love it. Fantasy or sci-fi?
Yes. But if I
World
had
War
to pick fantasy,
World War One or World War Two?
Two.
Civil War or Napoleonics?
Civil War.
Favorite MMP game?
I'm going to cheat. The GCACW series.
I take it. Favorite Compass game?
The Third World War.
Nice. What's a war game hidden gem? Or, I'll expand it. What's a game hidden gem you'd recommend to listeners?
Oh, hidden gem, meaning I love it and other people might not have heard of it.
Yeah.
I mentioned History Maker Golf. So if you like sports sims, Play with two A's does a lot of fun ones, right? So I think they're not as well known.
That's a good one.
Although they've started showing up at a couple cons, so they're trying to get out there. But they're literally a dad and his son
I
that
didn't
print
know that.
things out. So it's pretty small. If you want to go a little bit more mainstream and not down the realm of sports sims, then I'll pick something like, I mean, these guys are well known, but I'm going to go with Roads and Boats. You familiar with
Oh,
Splotter?
of course. Yep.
Yep. Yep. I think Roads and Boats is a tremendous game for someone who wants to just really dig in.
Roads and Boats desperately needs a reprint, especially because the first edition of Roads and Boats had so many printing issues, and like sometimes the counters would be unreadable. But that is like Splotter needs to reissue Roads and Boats, and I think they did. But
They
it's
have.
time for
Yeah,
them
that's
to,
the
yeah,
version I've got
2000,
is the most recent one. I
yeah,
waited years for a
2013.
reprint.
Excuse me, I think the 2013 was the edition that had the issues. The
Okay.
first
Yeah,
edition
they
was
have
back
one.
in
They've had a
1999.
reprint since then.
Yeah, since 2013.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Let me double check versions. Oh, is that the most recent? Is it
I
real?
think
Oh
so.
gosh,
It's been a
time is
while.
flying.
And so some of the stuff printed in 13 had some of the counters weren't readable. I think
Oh,
that's a great choice. I haven't played it. I want to play it. So that works for me. But favorite TV show?
gosh, I don't watch TV anymore. Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Oh, nice. I'm on a big Star Trek kick. Love it. What's a war game series you haven't played but want to?
Series that I haven't played that want to. What's the name of the series? It's the one that is Tinian and the Marianas campaign. So there's Tinian. There's what else is there? It's a compass game. What else is in the series?
Oh, you're talking. That's a Starkweather joint, right? That's company
Yes,
scale
it's
system.
Starkweather. I think there's Guam, and I don't know what the third one is.
Yeah, company scale system.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. He's got more games to his name than I can ever remember, right? But
Yeah, I think that one has some bugs.
Saipan's the other one. Yeah.
If they figure that out, I think there's a good amount in there because I think Mono Lamar is one I had, and I got rid
Okay.
of it
Yeah.
just because
Yeah.
there was some errata that needed to happen. But we're not here for that. Finally,
Alas,
yeah,
we are in as much as we like to think this is mainstream stuff, it is baling wire and string holding everything together, man.
absolutely true. All right, final one. What's the greatest game ever made?
It's the U.S. Civil War. Just for
Damn
you,
straight.
man. Just for you.
I appreciate it. Someone had to get it right. Finally, we can conclude the series. I was just waiting for someone to come along and give the right answer. I I laughing. I don't think Ardwolf knew the shtick
No, no, no.
because he just like straight up answered. I was like, okay, yeah, sure, you could say that, I guess.
So, to be frank, the reason I don't get more games played than I do is because I listen to too many darn people, and I know too many people's shtick. Too many YouTube shows, too many podcasts and whatnot. Yeah,
Yep.
it's a full time job.
Yeah. I'm a podcast junkie as well, and I agree.
All right, I'm going
Well,
to turn the tables on you. Favorite podcast?
favorite podcast? Like in what? It depends. Like board gaming or
Sure. When it's you answering the question, it depends. Is a
oh,
fine answer.
okay. So just straight up favorite podcast. Who? What do I listen to without fail? Most things I go off and on. The one like tried and true. Although I haven't listened to the most recent season. Damn, this is hard. I'll go Old Gods of Appalachia. I like it that much.
Okay, great.
Which is a
The
horror
right answer is
anthology.
hardcore history, but okay.
I've never listened to Hardcore History.
Oh,
I know. And people have recommended it for topics, and I've just never. I think I've like fired it up a couple times, and I just don't stick with it.
well, you know, he has a perfect voice for nighttime radio,
Mm.
and that's what he did. I think, right? He was a radio host,
Oh, okay.
uh, and it's just I love it. I'm not a big fan of 6-hour episodes when they come out. I'm like, come
Sure.
on, do like everybody else, break it in hour long episodes or something, right? But it is what it is. I'll take what I can get.
So that's one of the reasons why Old Gods is so good. He's got a voice made for Appalachian horror.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, if for an obscure pick, one I don't think I've mentioned on the show ever before. Maybe I did. I don't normally like interview shows. I say that as I'm doing an interview, but I will listen to a lot of, not as they come out, but when I'm low on podcasts. It's called Get Up in the Cool, and he conducts interviews with folk artists. So like banjo players, folk singers, those types of things, and they're really good. And if sometimes they'll do jam sessions on the show, whatever. It's very good if you like interview shows, which I don't always do.
All right, I'm going to give you one here that I'm going to tell you need to listen to.
All right, give it to me.
And it is a fixed number of episodes because they've stopped production. It's 2 seasons. It's called 1865.
Oh, that's on my list.
Okay, I highly recommend it. I mean, it is historical fiction, right? Because
Right.
it is based on the real story, and the season 1 picks up right after Lincoln's been shot, and it's about Edwin Stanton, the Secretary of War. Season 2 is about Ulysses S. Grant, and it is riveting stuff.
You're now the second person to wash ashore and recommend that podcast. I don't think he recommended it in his interview, but Jason from Advance After Combat is a big fan of 1865.
Okay.
And ever since he's told me about that, it's been in my podcast catcher. But it's like I want to be able to, like, I recently re-listened to all the Old Gods stuff, and I turned off every other like podcast. They all got put further in the queue until I got done binging all of Old Gods again. And
gosh.
so you know what? I'll do 1865. I'm going to put it in.
I can't do that, man. I have about 90 different podcasts that now some of them are defunct, right? And
right.
I keep them there in case they ever put out a new episode, but yeah.
My interests vary way too much. Like I just bounce around in interests. So like I have a lot of like retro gaming podcasts that I still subscribe to, but I only listen to them when I'm particularly into video gaming. Voluminous, I really like Voluminous, but I don't listen to that all the time. It's just like when I'm feeling particularly Lovecraftian or Cthulhu, I want to listen to Voluminous, but they might be done.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. I've cut out most gaming podcasts, other than a select few.
Voluminous, they
if
read
I had to say
all.
one thing that I have most, it's history type shows.
So Voluminous is 2 guys reading all of Lovecraft's letters.
Gosh, that has to be awful. I mean, from a content standpoint.
Yeah, but their commentary is really good. But I'm looking here, and they haven't released an episode since April, which tells you the last time I listened to them. Oh, yeah, I guess they announced it. Well, that's kind of sad. So they said that this is probably the final episode.
Oh, that always stinks.
Yeah, dang. So they run the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society, and they do a bunch of audio recordings of his books. It's again, I thought, wow, that's got to be boring, but actually, it was always pretty good. Wow, dang, I'm kind of bummed out. I got to go back and listen to that and see what happened.
Talk about needing to separate the art from the artist. H.P. Lovecraft is like the poster child for that, huh?
Yeah, right. I mean, there's, fortunately, what I'll say is that there's been, I just started a John Horner Jacobs book, and there's been a lot of there's been a modern resurgence in Eldritch horror, and the great thing is they're not bigots. So and there's been some that turn directly on the head. They will tell Lovecraft tales and make them so overtly in the face of pointing out that Lovecraft was a racist piece of shit, and they confront that directly. So that's good. But like John Horner Jacobs was just another recent one I started listening to. There's been some really great modern artists who go against Lovecraft's bigotry, which is good.
All right.
Anyways, Well, I enjoyed the detour at the end. Obviously, I think you and I could both talk a lot about the things we enjoy. But I do appreciate you coming on to the show, Bill.
Well, I'd say thanks for inviting me, but I think this means I'm stranded on a desert island now.
Yeah, but Scarjo's here, and so are a ton of games.
There we go. We can work with that.
Someone will wash ashore with like naval minis someday, and that'll be our ticket out of here. They'll be like, I'm bringing all the minis for the for all of World War II naval action or something like that, and be like, great, we now have enough ships to get us home. We just need someone to be brave enough to commit to that. So, Bill, do you want to plug anything, or is there anything you wanted to cover, or do you want to say where people can find you, or any of those things, or anything like that?
Generally, you can find me anywhere on the socials at Bill Simoni. I don't have any shows to flog. I'm not a content producer, whether it be word, audio, or video. So I don't have that pressure to produce, man.
But we should say that this winter we will have the Historical Board Game Awards, which Bill and I put on.
That's right. That's right. I've been trying to keep a list of all the games released in 2023. We'll see how successful I am. I'm sure when we publish the list to our voting committee, I'll be told that I've missed something obvious. But I'm trying to keep tabs on it.
Bless your heart, because that is a daunting task. Well, folks, thank you so much for listening to another episode of Deserted Island Dice. This was recorded on September 22nd. We will be back with more Deserted Island Dice. There are some in the queue. And if you're listening to this on release date, just know that the normal episode of History on the Table will record on September 30th, which means that'll probably come out sometime in early October, which is why you're hearing this at the end of the month. So a little double dosing for you. If you want to come hang out with us, which I highly recommend you do, check out the History on the Table Discord. There'll be a link down in the show notes. You can find us on socials at History Table Pod, wherever you look for us, that type of thing. That's going to do it for us, folks. Good night.